fight? Or you want to win? Last night I had a dream that the world had turned around. All our hopes had come to be. The revolution starts now.
What a swell party this is.
Remember this moment. You're here, you're right here, and you're ready to fight.
Welcome, Masters and Padawans, to episode 583 of Full of Sith. I'm recording this from the floor at Star Wars Celebration Japan, where things have been a little all over the place, but Holly and I have had an interesting time in Japan so far. It's great. But we've got something special for you. We were able to do the press conference roundtable interviews for Andor. So we've got 3 of those to bring you. Holly was able to talk to Genevieve O'Reilly and Tony Gilroy with the fan roundtables for Andor Season 2. And I was able to do those for Dedra Miro and Cyril Karn, which is Kyle Soller, and then Cassian Andor and Bix Colleen. So you'll have all 3 of those sort of back to back. I had to do mine from Japan, which was interesting because I kind of had to get up far too early in the morning on the day I arrived. Jet lagged at about 3 a.m. to do them, so if I sound way too tired, that's why. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. But Andor Season 2 starts soon. It's terrific. I don't know what else I can say about it. I'm not even sure I can say that much. But here are the fan roundtables, and I hope that you enjoy it. April 22nd is when the show starts. There you go.
Hey guys, I just got to say, Andor is absolutely incredible, and thank you so much for making it. It is truly something special. My first question is to Tony, and Tony, Andor is full of deep-cut references, from Luthen's line about the Rakatan invaders to all the artifacts in his gallery. How do you and the writing team approach those choices?
We take it to a certain level, but the things you're mentioning in the gallery, that's all driven by the art department, and our team is a pretty healthy combination of people who came on knowing nothing about Star Wars whatsoever, and a really deep bench of stone cold geeks. And whenever we give an opportunity, let the geek flag fly, man. So they put all that stuff in the gallery, and we reap the benefit of it.
Holly, next question.
Hi, I'm Holly Fry from Full of Sith. This has obviously been, I echo the sentiment of Holy wow. But this has obviously been a huge part of your life for the last several years. And Tony, obviously, it's your baby, and you have really expanded Star Wars lore. Genevieve, you have taken a character we knew nothing about and made her complex and nuanced and really iconic. But this is something that you don't own. It goes on, and there could be other people that take these characters and ideas and play with them and do their own thing. I'm curious for each of you, what is the request and advice you would make to those creatives?
I mean, that's hard. Creatives must create. It becomes someone else's story to tell. I don't know how you feel about that.
It is a difficult question to answer. You're absolutely right. You're as much as you make, you never have ownership here. You really don't. And I think that part of that sounds sad, but the other part of it means that you have to come at it with respect all the way through and make sure that you're taking care of the property. You want to leave it better than you found it. And I think that's how we feel about it. You can't really answer what people are going to do after that. You can't really say.
Gustavo?
Hi, Genevieve and Tony. I'm Gustavo from Triad of the Force, and I want to also echo the sentiments of everybody because Andor means a lot to me. Season 1 was amazing, and it's an experience of watching that I truly hold dear, and Season 2 has been such a blessing to also be able to watch. And my question is for both of you, and it has to do with normalcy, because one of the things that I thought was very interesting about Season 2 was how it frames life in a post-war and fascist government, but how somehow life still continues. And there's lots of scenes, especially with Mon, and how she has to prepare festivities and be in celebrations and carry on a normal life. And I wonder, we could have framed this show and just focused on the rebellious aspects of it and, and how we're fighting the Empire. But I thought it was so interesting to take a point to be like, hey, life continues and there's this new normal in this. And somehow that reframes how we're fighting the Empire. And I just wanted to see your opinions, both of your opinions, on how this helps frame the themes of the show in terms of rebellion and revolution.
Well, there's just such an infinite variety of experience going on all the time. I mean, she's back at the embassy in Velzoff doing Aldani, and people are dying in Gorman, and Davos Skulden's having a party. I mean, thus as it ever was. We're trying to. The opportunity here was to make a once in a lifetime opportunity to write an epic novel about revolution. Who's ever going to ask me to do that ever again? That will never happen with these resources and this framework. And so if you're going to do it, you want to get it all in there. It would be really a shame to have just some monochromatic version of it. You want absolutely everything you can possibly get in without having people feel that you're hitting them over the head with it. So, I mean, yeah, it's just you want the full spectrum of experience in wartime.
And you get that. You get, like, even if you think about, those first 3 episodes, if you think about the different characters and where they are. I mean, for me as an actor, I'm dropped into the middle of a wedding, deep cultural celebration. But at other times you have, at exactly the same time, you have pretty horrific things going on. So it's really kind of cross-sections of one moment in different places. So it's very effective at telling the story that,
But nothing's free. I mean, if the wedding is infected by the rebellion, Davos Skulden's party is absolutely affected by the rebellion. I mean, it's all, it's a different vibe, but like, wow, everything's leaking everywhere now.
Yeah, I mean, and that empire is always present.
Yeah.
Mac and Alex?
Hey, I'm Mac with Children of the Watch. Genevieve, Mon Mothma, between her family, her public position as an imperial senator, the secret work she's doing for the rebellion. Mon Mothma is a character who has to present herself in a lot of different ways to a lot of different people at a lot of different times. You pulled this off wonderfully, but are there any challenges that come with keeping all those different threads straight?
I think she's really effective diplomat. She's really, she's a model of composure, But the challenge really is to, I mean, the audience is in on that. That's set up from the very beginning of season 1. So the challenge is to subtly kind of give and take in regard to what the audience can see. I mean, I'm thinking about the scene in episode 6 with the party, with Krennic there. The challenge there is to be delicate, because she can't drop the mask in any way. Because if she drops the mask, then she's out. She's ineffective. She's ineffective to the rebellion. She's completely ineffective. So she must maintain composure within that party. But the delicacy of the job is to be able to allow the audience into the struggle within herself and how she's fighting to maintain composure.
Holly?
This question actually dovetails really nicely on that one, so thanks for the setup, Mac. I'm curious from both of you what you think Mon Mothma's greatest strength is and what her greatest weakness is. And I kind of hope you give different answers.
Man, I mean, I've said this before, but I mean, I don't think there's any character in the whole gauntlet of I don't think there's anybody who has a harder road than she does, because she has to do everything under glass, observed all the time. Her superpower is her ability to just not break under pressure and somehow manage to put one foot in front of the other and keep that mask on. That, you know, sometimes it's just sometimes it just seems impossible. You asked me what her greatest strength and then also weakness. Her weakness is that she has no physical expression or relationship with the rebellion. It's abstract. There's no blood in her, you know, on her floor. There's no bullet holes in her car. She's managed to go through a very long experience at the heart of the rebellion without ever having to face the unpleasant reality of it. And then in episode 9, we make a very big deal out of that, and I think that's her the breakdown between the way she lives and what she's actually doing.
It's hard for me to talk about her strength and her weakness because she's still inside of me a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to have perspective.
I don't want her to answer that because I feel like she has to go act some more, but we're done, I know. But it's like, you want the chaos to continue inside the actor, you know? You want chaos, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do. I want chaos in my characters, so I don't like it when they talk about it too much.
Yeah, and I would be doing her a disservice.
Gustavo, you have the last question.
Hopefully it's a good one for the last one. Andor season 1, I think one of the benefits that it had was that no one knew what it was going to be. So it had the benefits of a prequel because it didn't have any strings attached to too many things that it needed to pay reverence to. So both in, and this question's for both of you, and both in performances and writing, I think that everyone had a lot of freedom to kind of do whatever they want. And season 2 started to have the strings attached, and not just as in leading into Rogue One directly, but also with the Gorman Massacre and Star Wars Rebels, with, you know, the Mon Mothma character from there. So as a writing team, as an actor, like, how do you start fusing that and, you know, maintaining the ethos of the original show while grappling with the continuity of what it's, you know, what it's leading up to, what it has been, and the performances that are in between sandwiched there?
I think anybody who makes stuff for a long period of time and gets good at it understands something that seems counterintuitive to the general public, which is that limitations are really helpful. Problems are really helpful. Knowing where we're ending is the only reason that the show is any good. And having the Gorman Massacre on the calendar, even at this cripple sense, we knew we could do housekeeping and clean up how it was going to work, but having that there is something to navigate towards. And these things that you might be saying, oh, do you feel handcuffed by the structure? It's exactly the opposite. It's freeing, it's liberating to have all that and to work around it.
Yeah, and I would agree with that in regard to character, because actually the structure of this series, this season, that each 3 episodes we jump a year, allows or requires a specificity of performance, which means you mustn't be have any alert or radio frequency in regard to where the character is going or where the character was 5 years ago or what was happened before in another piece, because you must be dialed in to a specificity of that moment, really detailed moments in their lives every 3 episodes, because they're only over 3 days, 3 or 4 days each one. So it's this tiny, tiny little laser moment, and you're all in as a performer. So the rest is just, that's kind of white noise. The job is
the moment.
The moment, yeah.
Hey, thank you both so much for your time today. I'm Mac from Children of the Watch. So both Cassian and Bix, Star Wars is so much more than just a galaxy far, far away. It's deeply personal for so many people. For each of you, what has it meant not just to be in Star Wars, but to help shape Star Wars through grounded, emotionally rich characters?
Oh my God! Well, I mean,
you go.
Yes, I mean, I don't know. I never thought that way. I was just trying to do my job the best way I can, and tell a story that I would care about as audience, that I would like to hear. But I'm gonna change the angle because I think we are very lucky to be around, these days. I think the decision made in Lucasfilm and Disney 10 years ago, when they decided to do Rogue One and do a film that was going to be different, that it was meant to be different, that was going to explore the life of characters that you normally don't pay too much attention in the universe of Star Wars, but that are crucial part of the story, I think that was bold, that was fantastic, and as audience I go like, damn, more of that, please. And to be around in this time when Star Wars is paying attention to these stories is wonderful, because we had the opportunity to do something very different in a universe that means a lot to me.
Brian from Full of Sith.
Question for both of you. This film, I think of it as films. It feels like four different films, but the same film almost with season 2. They have this remarkable urgency, both in how fast they move toward the takeover of the Empire, but just sort of in our current political moment. And I'm wondering how much, what the two of you were sort of feeling as far as what you hope people take away from this second season, as far as the rebellion and that need to stand up, and how it feels having it come out now, where we are right now in the world.
I mean, I think if there's something that I would like people to take away, and I believe that we both share the same thing, is that this show is about people. And it's about people that are coming together, and it's a real showcase of the importance of community and what can be done if sort of a group of people come together and share the same belief. It's complex and it's difficult, but there's a lot of power in that. And the fact that it's coming out now, I mean, I don't know, I feel like I would feel the same if it were to come out in 5 years or in 10 years. I think it's a show that almost feels like I'm in a little time machine in a way, because I really believe this is going to be relevant like it is today. It'll be relevant, in throughout history, even if it would have come out years before. And Diego sort of says this beautifully. It's because, history sort of repeats itself, and it's a showcase of that.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree, and I think it's because on the making of it, we were first of all honest, with our main goal, which was like, let's paint the scenario that you need for a rebellion to erupt. What needs to happen for people to get to the point where they're willing to sacrifice everything and start working together, even though it didn't happen before, What makes you really, really believe in change and put everything behind that idea, And I think Tony brought everything he has, I mean, it's there's reference from present, past, his context, my context, Adria's context. We all brought ourselves completely, in serve of the story. And sadly, yes, as Adria said, sadly these stories are gonna be relevant probably in 50 years also. We tend to fall into the same trap and go through the same mistakes over and over and over. We don't seem to get it. We don't seem to learn from the past.
Charlotte and Caitlin from Sky Talkers.
Hi, good morning. We're Caitlin and Charlotte from Sky Talkers. It's so great to speak with both of you. Diego, in season 1, Tony Gilroy often described the season as the education of Cassian Andor. How would you describe this season for Cassian and Adria? How would you describe this season for Bix?
I think for Cassian, this season is like, I think he has an awakening, but now he has to understand why is change needed, and for that he needs to experience many things. He needs to meet many people, but most importantly, he has to fall in love, fully. He has to understand his ability to love someone, to give his life to someone, therefore to something. I don't think revolution exists without love. Is a very romantic, thought. And he has to open up for that. When we see him in the first season, he's not ready for that. He's in a very cynical and very protective mode. He has to open up and let himself be vulnerable. And so yeah, I think it's about that.
And I think it's always so hard to talk after you talk, Diego. Because you talk so beautiful.
No.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try. Well, for Biggs, coño. Okay, here I go. For Biggs, I think it's a little bit of rebuilding. She sort of has to come back to herself and who she is after what happened to her with Dr. Gorst, or what Dr. Gorst does to her. There's a lot she has to sort of heal and go through. But in the middle of it, she, like Diego said, they fall in love and understand what love is. And Bix, I think, for the first time, understands what home really is. She maybe had the idea that Ferrix was everything to her, and I really believe that maybe Marva is, but Bix is on the second hand of Marva. She's the most Ferrixian woman there is. I don't know if she could have called it home. It was comfortable. It was everything she knew, and I think through this season she finds what home is, and she finds a home in Cassian, and she wants to be a part of something, she wants to be a part on the right side of history, so desperate. But there's so much stuff that she has to sort of go through and experience and heal. God, I was being real careful.
Gustavo, Triad of the Force.
Hola Adria, hola Diego, soy Gustavo de Puerto Rico.
Puerto
Triad of the
Rico.
Force. Sí, saludos. So my question is a little similar to Sky Talkers over here, but so I'm gonna retool it a little bit, because as we've seen, Bix and Cassian's journey in season 1, kind of discovering what rebellion and revolution means to them. We see that journey continue in season 2. And I think one of the most beautiful things in season 1 was all these manifestos and statements that we've seen different characters do about what rebellion and revolution means to them. And that continues in season 2. But I'm curious to see how, since this journey has changed both of your characters in what that means to them, if there was a manifesto that Cassian could make and there was a manifesto that Bix could make, what would those be?
Oof. I think Cassian manifesto is in Rogue One. It's just that now we understand it, you know. We have more tools to actually understand what he meant, you know. But he has a speech in Rogue One that now is being resignified by Andor season 1 and 2. You know, if you go back to that speech, suddenly it's so much like bigger, and you know it means so much more. But if you see Rogue One, I would say that the film is its manifesto by itself. You know, now you know what's behind. Rebellions are built on hope, no? For example, stuff like that. I mean, it's anyway. I think revisiting Rogue One is going to be the way to answer your question.
Oh man, and I really, that one's a tricky one for me to answer without getting in trouble, right? I think for Bix, you're gonna have to watch season 2 to really understand her manifesto. There definitely is one. I'm sorry. That's like so lame. But
And last question, Alex with Children of the Watch.
Hey guys, I'm Alex from Children of the Watch, and this one's for Diego. Diego, as your time in Star Wars winds down, unfortunately, I mean, you've been incredible, both of you have. You've mentioned before that you were always fascinated by Jabba the Hutt. A lot of fans have been wondering, did you ever get to discover what Jabba actually feels like?
No, but I think I'm good with that. I mean, I'm ready to accept that answer would never come. No one briefed me enough at the beginning. You gotta be careful with what you say in interviews.
I know.
Because
now
that can haunt you for decades now.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I'm learning.
Hey, I'm Mac from Children of the Watch. Thank you both so much for your time today. So our first question is going to be for Kyle. Season 2 of Andor has some of the most humorous moments of the entire show, I think, and Cyril is involved in a lot of those. Is there any kind of challenge associated with the balancing the humorous side of Cyril to the darker, more obsessive side?
Is there a challenge? No. No, I think one of the gifts of Cyril is just what Tony created. It was always there.
Yeah, but you do unintentionally funny things in there, though. There's things that you're like, that wasn't even in the script. That's just pure Kyle. That's Kyle Solar getting involved.
Maybe that also is another gift from Tony, because he gave us a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And he gave us a lot of responsibility. You know, at the beginning of each season, he's like, you know, we got these directors coming in, and you're gonna have to keep your through line, you're gonna have to do your thing, and I'm here whenever you need me. And he was very, very present.
Really was.
And would answer any question you wanted to know. But ultimately, that freedom allows us to be playful, which was so needed, especially in this second season. As you're setting everything up in the first 3 episodes before it goes into the pressure cooker. I always I love looking for those juxtapositions, those little moments where a character kind of surprises you with being a little bit funny or something. I think it makes Cyril more human. Not that I'm desperate for people to like him at all. I just think he's a I don't know, I see him as a funny guy.
Yeah, but it's a Kyle thing, though. Like, he did things that you think a lesser actor just wouldn't even know that that's available. I mean, it's just brilliant. The cutting, his knife cutting was so intense. He's chopping everything. His eating the dessert was so intense. The lying. Yeah, there's a lot of funny things.
All right, next question is from Bryan Young from Full of Sith.
Full of Sith. That's so good.
That's so good.
You are full of Sith.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you both for being here. I want to ask about the physicality of the roles. Like, both of you, right here now feel very relaxed, but
we're not.
In the show, both of you are ramrods straight and frown the entire time, just about. And I'm wondering about the difficulties of maintaining that, or just what that's like playing such miserable people in Star Wars.
I think Dedra's really happy. It was very helpful for me when Ben Karen suggested that Dedra just put her arms behind her back. It unlocked everything, because I watched on the monitor my early scenes in the first season. My early scenes were Ferrix, and she was like playing with her belt and fiddling with the gun, and everything was like moving. And he invited me to have a look on the monitor, and I was like, oh God, it's just so much going on. And he said, yeah, it's a bit swishy. Why don't you try putting your hands behind your back? And I did, and then I was like, oh my God, of course, she doesn't show anything. And if you sit like this, your uniform is going to crease, so of course you have to sit like this. It was kind of painful, and then to keep it going for so long, and then the belt was like really tight, and the arms behind the back, this hurts. There was a lot. And then my face is just my natural resting bitch face. That's basically what my face looks like when I don't smile. So I just did that.
And I think the genius of Michael Wilkinson, who was creating the costumes,
legend.
really informed both of our characters. I mean, Cyril is tailored to within an inch of his life. And that's his choice, because he gives a shit about clothing and his appearance and what he's, it's very important to him. When I put those costumes on, I really do have to stand a certain way.
Yeah.
And because it's so beautiful and Cyril takes care with his clothing, again, you don't want it to crease or be out of place. And
Michael loved us because we really took care of those costumes.
Yeah. And, I had something else to say, but I can't remember what it was.
That was because
I
jumped in.
All right, next up from Triad of the Force, this is Gustavo.
Hi, Denise. Hi, Kyle. I'm Gustavo from Triad of the Force. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I loved Andor Season 1. Very lucky to have been able to see Season 2 and see where the journey for your characters have gone. And my question is for both of you. One of the interesting things for both of your characters has been their devotion to the Empire and the different ways in which they manifest that, specifically in Season 1. And in Season 2, we see that their journeys in terms of their devotion goes in different routes from the beginning to the end of it. So I guess my question for both of you is, what do you think, or what would you say the lessons that Cyril and Dedra have learned about the Empire are at the beginning of Season 2 and then at the end of Season 2?
Okay. I think at the end, Dedra realizes that the Empire is out for the Empire, and the Empire is like a gang. The rebellion is like a tribe. So a tribe is like all these people gathering together with a common goal, usually for like the betterment of everything. And a gang is like a group of people that are together, but that will disperse at the first sign of trouble. There's no loyalty. They cut you to get you to join, and they cut you when you leave. And so I think she realizes at the end she's been in a gang and that there is no substance to the gang. But I think even then, because of Dedra's sort of indoctrination, I think it's like losing a parent. It's like losing her one great love. And I don't even know if it's consciously happening to Dedra that she suddenly thinks, you know, the Empire is terrible. Like, the devastation for her, it's all she's ever known. So I think at the beginning she believes the Empire needs to be protected at all costs, and she'll go to any lengths, and at the end she is a casualty.
I think Cyril, at the beginning, is still drinking the Kool-Aid. He's very much pro-Empire, and that's partly because within his own specific slither, his sector of the Empire, is he's not aware of the larger machine and its intentions and its doings. And so he's kind of like a cult member.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what you begin to see as an unraveling of the cult hypnotism and brainwashing that Cyril has been subjected to his entire life. As he starts to walk amongst other people, he starts to think a little bit differently and starts to feel betrayed by the system that he has upheld and loved so much and wants to be a part of. And betrayed by someone that he deeply cares about, who
uses him.
All right, let's go back to Children of the Watch for our next question.
Hi, I'm Alex from Children of the Watch, and this is for both Denise and Kyle. Kind of playing off what you guys were just talking about, one of the most striking things about both Dedra and Cyril is how real they feel. Flawed, obsessive, at times chilling, but never cartoonish.
Yeah.
You both built characters that audiences are invested in, almost hoping they'd wake up and turn a corner. How did you approach grounding those roles in emotional truth? And was there ever a moment where you found yourself rooting for them too?
Well, I think I always root for the characters I play. I mean, in as much as you can. I mean, I'm not really hoping that character is seen in a particular way or they're viewed as the hero or anything. But there's a funny joke about actors in Hamlet where, you know, somebody asked the guy who's playing the gravedigger, "Hey, so what's Hamlet about?" And he goes, "Well, there's this gravedigger who," so
That's us.
Cyril, you know, is definitely the hero of his own story.
Yeah.
But I remind me of the question again. I've gotten off track.
Just, was there ever a moment that you guys felt like, oh man, I hope they turn the corner and wake up from what they're doing?
Oh, well,
I sort of hope it for Dedra, but also I think that it's good to have. I think what I've gotten back from fans is certainly that let her just stay true to the Empire. Like, let's not, I mean, my biggest fear was that Tony had written that I get rescued by a boy and then I fall in love. And I was like, what? This is gonna, what do I do with that? Like, I've built this. And he laughed and he said, do you really think that's what I would write? And clearly I was so naive because they stay very, they have this new thing in season 2, but they're still very much Dedra and Cyril with their objectives and all of that stuff. So I'm actually really, I was really hopeful that they let her, why not have a character who isn't changed by love or, you know, revelation or suddenly seeing the other. I think that I represent in season 2 the danger of somebody who lives within a system and believes that that system is the only system and that anything outside that system is a threat. She never walks amongst anything outside it. She never gets in touch with the other. And so, but Cyril does. And so I think that Tony's writing is trying to show all the variations of it. Like, if both of them were to kind of wake up and go to the rebellion, I think people would be disappointed with that too.
Yeah.
Let them be evil.
So Holly and I are going to do some recordings reviewing the first 3 episodes of Andor. And we're going to include that with a wrap-up of the Andor panel this weekend from Star Wars Celebration. Trying to be as spoiler-free as possible, so you can look for that very soon. And we'll be there that'll be our next episode, and we'll probably have a couple more check-ins from Star Wars Celebration. So hopefully you'll be along with us. So for Full of Sith, I'm Bryan Young. And the Force will be with you, always.
Sir, if you'll not be meeting me, I'll close down for a while.